Hello, welcome back to Natural Music. Today we are doing the song Amazing Grace in kind of a country gospel feel. By now you should know the country gospel intro that goes along with this. But if not, most of this should still make sense to you. So we're in the key of G and it's 3/4 times. So let's establish the basic rhythm and then we'll build some things around that. So octave G, a G here, G, B, and D. So we're gonna go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So we're doing bass notes in the left hand, and then we're creating a rhythm in the right hand, which is 3/4 times. So we're going 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Now, there is a few things that we're gonna do on the ands after the 3. So 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3. All right, so there's some options that we can have, and you don't have to do them. You could play this just as straight as can be. But let's talk about them so that way we can kind of get them out of the way, and then I'll briefly explain them as we get going. So let's use G as an illustration here. We'll do it on other chords, but when approaching a measure, so it would be the and of the 3 measure. So, I'm sorry, 3 in the measure. 1, 2, 3, and you can approach whatever chord you're going to be playing, and if we're staying on G, we'll just approach G there from a full step up minor. So in G, a full step up is an A, so we're going to play an A minor on the and of it. 1, 2, 3, and then back to G. Now, what I like to do to add some color to it, or character, when I come back to the G, or whatever chord I'm going to, in this case it is G, we're going to slide from the A sharp to the B. It's G, B, and D, but we'll just, kind of gives it more soulful feel. So 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, and 1. See how we do that? Same way with C. We did C and D minor and slid this middle finger. So 1, 2, 3, and 1. Okay. Now, here's some other things I'm going to do. On the 3 of the measure, I'll start a rolling pattern. If I'm going to change to a chord, here's an option. So let's say I'm going from G to C. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, and then go to a C. On the 3, I roll the voicing or the chord that I have. So in this case, G. Right before I go to C, I go G, B, D. And then I change to C. So 1, 2, 3. See how I do that? So that's something that's going to take place, and it doesn't matter what chord or what you're doing. You just roll it on the 3 of that measure. So let's get into the song. Coming out of the intro, on the intro video, we're playing a C, a G, C, and E. That's how I'm playing the C. I've moved this G down here. And I'm rolling up to a D, and I'm playing B, C, C sharp to D, and all at one time. Now you can just hit an octave D. Both of them sound just fine. This is just what I'm doing right now. Either one of them. I switch back and forth between them. Just depends on what mood I'm in. Both of them sound fine though. So that's on of Amazing, and that's actually at the end of the intro. At the end of the intro we go, then Amazing. See how we just hit that real quick? Amazing. So you only hit one of those. It's at the end of the measure of the intro, actually, but we're starting the song there. So then on Maze of Amazing, we're going to start the rhythm. So octave G and a G here. G, B, and D. Amazing Grace. So we got 2 measures of G. So in between there, I'm going to hit that A minor back to G and slide the A sharp to the B when I go back to G, like we just talked about. So Amazing Grace. Now, on how we have a G over a B, so octave B here and G, but I'm going to turn this, I like to make a lot of those split chords into a 7th, a flat 7 chord. So I'm gonna play G7, so I'm just going to not put the G in there, and you can play all 4 notes, but I'm just gonna do this. I'm gonna play this chord which is F, B, and D, G7, and I'm gonna roll it down, and I'm gonna go like this when I hit the B down there. And then I'm gonna go up and hit this D up there again, see? So, and then I'm going to go to a C on the word sweet. And by the way, I'm just using the first verse as an example. This will apply to all 3 verses. So this will be the entire song really after the intro. And I'll say something about the tag at the end or how to get into the next verses when we get to the end of this. So here's what we're doing. We're playing that G7 with a B and we're rolling it, adding the D back in there. Then when we go to C on sweet, how sweet, we're hitting an octave C because we're changing to a C chord, but this is filling enough playing it down here in this where I just add the E there, and it's just ease of use. So for the one of the first measure that we're playing of C, I'm gonna go 1, and then on the 2 and the 3, I'll add the chord back in there. 1, 2, 3, like that. Okay, so the notes I've added in, I'm playing a C, which is E, G, and C. But the first one, I just go 1, then 2, 3, and I'm just moving my fingers out of the way so you can see that. That's not a good way of doing that. I'm just doing it so you can see it. So let's go over what we got so far. Amazing grace, how sweet. All right, and then on the, which is the and of the measure of C, so 1, 2, 3, and so we're going to a G, so I'm going to approach it with that A minor. Remember how we just did that a second ago? I'm going to go A minor on the and of that, so I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, and then slide back to the G, G, B, and B with sliding the A sharp to the B, just like we did just a second ago. And like I said, these are options. I'm just trying to add a little bit of character to our rhythm so it's not just so boring, but there's nothing wrong with just playing straight rhythm. You know, how sweet. Sounds fine. I'm just trying to make it a little bit more interesting and still stay out of the way of the vocalist. So, amazing grace, how sweet the sound. All right. Now on the 3 of the measure after we hit G of the sound 2, so we're going 1, 2. There is on the word that, right before that saved, we're going to an E minor on save, but you'll see on your chord chart, there is a D with an F sharp. So the F sharp in the left hand, or you can roll it from the E, F to F sharp, like we did with the C over D at the beginning. I'm going to do that, but you can just do an octave F sharp and it sounds great. The right hand's going to play a D, and I'm going to play the voicing like this. F sharp, A, and D. I'm just taking these 2 notes and put them down here. So, or octave F sharp. And then we're going down to this E minor. So we only get one of these. It's like 1, 2, 3. All right, it's just a walk down to the E minor. So octave E, and then this is on the word saved on the first verse, and then the E minor is just a straight up E minor. E, G, and B. And I'm gonna play a measure of that. 1, 2, then actually on the end of that E minor measure, I'm going to do that, the rolling of the chord that I talked about where I go E, G, and B. So I'll go 1, 2, 3. All right. So, and then we'll go to an A7, but let's play what we got so far. Just picking out little things, you know, to make this interesting. So, amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch. Okay, so now we're on wretch after we just rolled that chord on the end of the measure of the E minor. We are to an A7 here. So octave A, and a regular A is A, C sharp, and E, but we're gonna drop it down to the flat 7, add the G in there. All right, so we've E minor. All right, so a wretch, and then we're gonna play a measure of A there, and then by the time we get to me, we're gonna play a C suspended, or I'm sorry, a D suspended. But before we do that, I'm gonna do the same thing I did on the E minor. I'm gonna go 1, 2, 3. On the 3, I'm going to roll that chord up there. So G, C sharp, and E. So 1, 2, 3, and and then we're going to a D suspended on me. Pay attention to your chord chart there. So octave D, a D suspended is just taking the 3 of that D chord, which is D, F sharp, and A, and this is the 3 of the chord, and we just bring it up to the 4, which is the G, and then we're going to resolve it back down to a regular old D, which is D, F sharp, and A. So we're just going like me, and then we're going to do the same thing on that 1, 2, then roll that 3 before going back down to the regular D. And then we'll do a measure of that. All right. So let's see what we got. That saved a wretch like me. 2. Then on the 3 of the measure of the D after the D suspended, we're going to go 1, 2. I'm going to do that same thing that I did with the G7, but I'm going to do it with the D7 now. And I don't have that written on there. I don't think I do. But you can swap out a D and D7 in the key of G. And some would even say you need to play it as a 7, but I look at it as options. Just what sounds good to me at the time. So we're still on that octave D, but on the 3 of that, I'm going to roll it. So A, F sharp, and C. And then I'm going to go back up and hit that C. Or I'm sorry, the A. And then go back to this G, and we're to the word I once. On once there, you see that on your chart. Octave G, I'm going to play this G right here, B, D, and G. So let's take it from that same a wretch like me. I once was lost. Okay, so we're on a couple measures of G. Now, we're going to notice for a few measures here, this is going to be just like the beginning of the song. After this G, we're going to go 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to play that A minor and just stay on a G, but we're working our way down to this G. So we're going 1, 2, 3, and the A minor, and then slide down to this G like we did with the A sharp to B. So, I once was lost. Now on the 3 of that measure, we're going to play the same thing that we did earlier, where it's a B and a G, and we're going to roll that, and then go down to that C with just the E there, 2, 3, and then do the same thing as we did earlier, approach that G on am found, on the word found, we're going to go A minor to G. It's just like the beginning of the song. Watch this. I once was lost, but now am found. And even this this D with an F sharp down here is the same on was blind. We're going down to an E minor, was blind. So that's the same voicing and everything. F sharp, A, and D. We're going down to an F sharp down here on the word was. We did it on that earlier on the 2nd line. Now here on this 4th line, we're doing a F sharp, and then we're going down to an E minor, just like we did before. So everything's the same. This first G is a little different in the beginning of the song, but now it's the same. So I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but I'm going to roll that E minor on blind. 1, 2, 3. Now here's where it changes from earlier. We're going to play a G over D, but now on I we're going to play, so this G is B, D, and G with a D octave down here, and we're going to sustain that octave, and then we're going to hit, on I we're going to hit a D7, C, but now I, then back to a G, regular, the G we just played, B, D, and G with a G octave, I see, and then we're going to go 1, 2, then the C chord to G. Now, we're going to play that lick that we did on the intro, and I'll go over it briefly, but really you ought to watch the intro video. I went into it. So over that C, I'm going to go 1, 2, like that. So it sounds like, but now I see. So I'm going to go, now I, 1, 2, 3. All right. So it's on kind of the 3 of that measure, or not kind of, it is. 1, 2, 3, 1. So you hit it real quick. So we're going to play that lick that goes G to C back to G real quick. So that lick, and it's just like the intro, G note, and then G and a C, and then we do something real quick where we go A, G, E, and then come back up here and hit the C, and we come down and, and when we hit the G and the C there, octave C. So we hit that first note, and then octave C, and then when we go down to this G chord, we do an octave G down here. So D, G, and B is the chord I'm going to play for the G chord. So 1, 2, and then you play a couple of the measures. And if you're going into the next verse, you'll just hit that same thing like at the beginning of the song, and you're on 'Twas Grace, or whatever verse you're going into, the C with the D down there like we played earlier. So this is what it sounds like if you're going into the next verse. Was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace. Then you just play it over, and this whole verse just applies to that, to the other verses as well. Let me play through this whole verse, and then we'll talk about the tags. So we'll do Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found. Was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace. Okay, so that's how you get into the next verse. Now, if you're ending it, and we'll just use the last line, I think the last verse is, then when we first begun. So let's do, then when we first be, and you're going to notice it's going to go C, G over B, A minor, and G on your chord chart, and then I'll just kind of end it with a B and a G, or you can add the D in there if you want, roll it up. You can play that straight like that, but I'm going to kind of mix it up and do this. Okay, so what this looks like is when the left hand is just going C, B, A, and G. And we kind of do it a little bit slower because they're just holding out the ending note, and we just kind of do it off timing and feel it. So octave C, and then we're going to go C and E, but we're going to slide the D sharp to the E, and then we're going to go up and hit this G. So, and then when we do the B down here, we're going to do a B and a D, and we're going to go, and then we're going to go up and hit that G. So we got, and then for the A minor, hit an A octave down here, and then A and C. And it's okay, we're going to keep it uniform, we're going to hit this G up there again, and that's the 7th note of an A minor 7, which that sounds okay. So same thing, A and C up to G, and then we're going to end it with the G octave, and we're going to end it with the G chord, but we're going to kind of just play D and A, and then we're going to correct to B to kind of end it. So it just kind of bends. And then we hit the B and the G up here, or however you want to end it. So it's... Okay, so that is it for Amazing Grace, kind of in the country gospel style, but really it would apply to just playing it, even if you weren't playing it in that style. Just give us some different things while accompanying and chording, and it's in the 3/4 time. And G, we will see you at the next lesson and the next song. Thank you so much for watching.